Let's go Broncos! The buzz is growing louder in the Mile High City, and the conversation around the Denver Broncos' final roster moves before the 2025 season officially kicks off is heating up. Broncos country, I've got some major updates to share with you today. Updates that could shake up the depth chart and possibly bring new faces into the locker room. We all know that if this team is going to make a legitimate push for the Super Bowl, Sean Payton is going to need a well-rounded, reliable roster. I'm about to break it all down for you. But before we dive into the details, make sure you hit that like button, asterisk, but only if you've been riding with the Broncos for more than 20 years. It's always amazing to see loyal fans from every generation repping that orange and blue. And hey, if you're one of them, drop a comment saying, "Go Broncos!" My heart bleeds orange and blue. So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into the heart of the matter. The question on everyone's mind right now, is the Broncos roster truly complete? Or should George Payton and the front office be looking to make one or two final signings to round out the squad? One name that continues to pop up, and yes, it's a bit controversial, is J.K. Dobbins. This guy has been a fan favorite ever since his days tearing it up in college and then flashing brilliance with the Baltimore Ravens. And let's be honest, when Dobbins is healthy, he's dynamic. Just last year, in 13 games, he managed over 1,000 scrimmage yards and found the end zone 9 times. That's solid production. And when you hear his projected contract, 2 years, $8.1 million, you start to think, why not take a flyer? But here's the catch. Health. It's not just a small red flag with Dobbins, it's a glaring warning light. Since entering the league in 2021, he hasn't played a single full season. He missed his rookie year with a major knee injury, tore his ACL in 2022, ruptured his Achilles in 2023, and then sprained his MCL just last season. That's 4 straight years with lower body injuries. Folks, his best ability may be his vision or burst, but the most important ability in football? Availability. And that's exactly where Dobbins has come up short. Sure, the thought of adding him to a backfield alongside R.J. Harvey is intriguing. Harvey has shown flashes and could very well become the feature back. Adding Dobbins might look good on paper, but does it make sense to spend cap space on a player who statistically won't make it through a full season? For me, that's a hard sell. History has shown us what happens to players like Kevin White and others who just couldn't stay on the field. It's a cruel part of the game, but it's reality. So while some fans might want to roll the dice on Dobbins, I'd advise caution. Now let's talk about a less flashy, but perhaps more strategic move, defensive lineman Jonathan Bullard. Not exactly a household name, but hear me out. Bullard is a vet who could add some valuable depth to the defensive line. He spent the last 3 seasons with the Minnesota Vikings and just posted a career high in tackles for loss last year. He's not going to wow you with sacks or big plays, but what he does bring is consistency and toughness up front. Bullard wouldn't start. He'd be a rotational piece, a tree stump in the middle of the line who can step in behind guys like DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers, or even Zach Allen. These are the kinds of signings that don't make headlines, but come playoff time, you're glad you made them. You can get him for something like a 1-year, $5.5 million deal with $3 million guaranteed. It's a bargain if he helps solidify the run defense, which is exactly what Denver could use more of. Finally, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, Nick Chub. Now I know what you're thinking, another running back with injury concerns? Haven't we been down this road? Yes, and you're absolutely right to be skeptical. But we're talking about Nick Chub, a top 5 back in the NFL before the injuries started piling up. The guy was a wrecking ball in Cleveland, and if he's even 75% of the player he once was, he could still give you 1,000 yards and a handful of touchdowns. The big question is, will he ever be that player again? After tearing his MCL and meniscus in 2023 and breaking his foot in 2024, it's a valid concern. But what makes this compelling is that the Browns have already moved on. They drafted 2 running backs this year, and their GM, Andrew Berry, flat out said Chubb isn't coming back. That door is closed. So the question becomes, is Denver the right place for a comeback? Signing Chubb would be a gamble, but it's one that could pay off big if he can stay healthy. He wouldn't need to carry the load. He could be used in a complementary role alongside Harvey, easing his way back into action. It all comes down to how much the Broncos are willing to risk for potential reward. So Broncos country, what do you think? Would you take a chance on a high upside player like J.K. Dobbins or Nick Chubb? Or should we play it safe and invest in depth pieces like Jonathan Bullard? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Who would you want to sign before the season begins? Let's keep it rolling. Broncos country. So, if we really dig into this situation, the Broncos are standing at a pivotal crossroads right now. The decision to bring in someone like Nick Chubb or J.K. Dobbins isn't just about plugging a hole in the roster. It's a statement about the kind of risk this franchise is willing to take to reach the next level. But here's the real issue. Are we prepared to bet on damaged goods for the slim chance of explosive return, or do we stick with what we've been building and focus on developing our young core? The running back room, as it stands, features some emerging talent like R.J. Harvey, and there's confidence that he can shoulder the lead back duties. He's fresh, he's hungry, and he doesn't carry the physical baggage that Chub and Dobbins bring. But let's not sugarcoat it. Having a veteran presence who's been there, done that could be a stabilizing force in close games and late-season pushes. That's what makes this conversation so complex. It's not just about numbers or talent. It's about timing, fit, and durability. And with the Broncos already dealing with some reshuffling across the offense and defense in the offseason, the idea of introducing a veteran who could help right away is tempting. That's where someone like Jonathan Bullard becomes even more valuable. He might not be a game changer, but depth on the D-line is something you can never have too much of, especially when injuries start to pile up deep into the season. Think about last year. We saw firsthand how thin our front got at times, forcing us into matchups that clearly didn't favor us. Bullard's ability to play behind multiple spots across the defensive line, whether it's behind DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers, or even Zach Allen, makes him the kind of chess piece Sean Payton and Vance Joseph could deploy smartly. No, he's not getting 10 sacks. No, he's not going to draw a double team. But what he is going to do is keep the integrity of your defense intact when a starter needs a breather. That matters in the grind of a 17-game schedule and hopefully a postseason run. So what's holding things up? Money, most likely. Bullard is probably looking for more than what teams are willing to pay for a rotational guy. But come post-June 1st, when cap numbers shift and teams get a clearer picture of their financial flexibility, we might see a player like Bullard finally land somewhere. And if Denver makes the call, don't be surprised. Now, let's not forget the timing here. We're entering June, and the 53-man roster decisions are coming fast. Every day that passes puts more pressure on unsigned veterans to find a landing spot, and more urgency on teams to shore up any soft spots before camp begins. For the Broncos, these next few weeks will be crucial. If Sean Payton and George Payton want to bring in one more impact player, whether that's a low-risk, high-reward signing like Chub or Dobbins, or a steady veteran presence like Bullard, it needs to happen soon. There's no time to hesitate. Let's talk strategy. If you ask me, the Broncos should prioritize depth over flash. Yes, a healthy Chub is electric. A rejuvenated Dobbins could be a spark plug. But the probability of both staying healthy for 17-plus games? Slim. What's more realistic, and ultimately more valuable to this roster, is someone who can step in and contribute reliably when called upon. That's what championship teams do. They build out the middle of their rosters, not just the top. The other layer to consider is what kind of message this sends to the current locker room. Bringing in a high-profile name like Chub could be inspiring, or it could shake the confidence of young guys trying to prove themselves. Payton has to balance that carefully. Chemistry is huge in football, and disrupting that with the wrong move could backfire. Still, if the Broncos are truly in win-now mode, then maybe taking a calculated risk on someone like Chub makes sense. He's motivated. He's got something to prove. And if anyone's going to grind their way back to form, it's a guy like Nick Chubb. The guy is a workhorse, and you know he wants one more shot to show the league what he's made of. Wouldn't it be something if that comeback happened in Denver? At the end of the day, it comes down to risk tolerance, locker room dynamics, and cap space. And Broncos country, I want to hear from you. We've looked at the pros and cons of Dobbins, Bullard, and Chub. Now it's your turn. If you could make one final signing before the season starts, who would it be? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and stay tuned. We've got more exclusive updates, training camp previews, and in-depth breakdowns coming your way. This is the fastest growing Broncos channel on YouTube for a reason.